The United Nations marked the first International Equal Pay Day in September this year. The day was set to mark the difference in pay between men and women. Now, the gender pay gap has been estimated at 23% worldwide, with women said to earn only 70 cents for every dollar earned by men. Let's get more on this. I'm joined by the European Union Ambassador to South Africa, Dr. Riina Kionka. Thanks so much for your time on SABC News this afternoon. So the UN has marked International Equal Pay Day for the first time this year. If you can tell us a little bit more about gender pay gap specifically in South Africa.
Yes, and good afternoon. As you mentioned, the global gender pay gap is about 23%, and in the EU it's about 16% with a wide variety among the various countries. But in South Africa, it's 28%. That's for full-time work, and for part-time work, it's even higher. It's 39%.
So if women in South Africa are reportedly earning 28% less than men, what are the ramifications of that for the South African economy and for people's day-to-day lives?
Well, for starters, South African women would have to work 212 extra days a year to earn the same amount as men do. Ramifications are very broad, also because of the tendency of women to take on more unpaid work in the family. So the balancing of family responsibilities such as childcare or elder care or caring for the ill or housework falls disproportionately on women. And finding that balance between paid work and family work can sometimes lead women to go to part-time with a consequent effect on the family income, or drop out of the workforce altogether.
Okay, so we know that this is not just a South African problem, an African problem, it's an international one. What can be done to change what sounds like a very systemic issue, a very ingrained issue, and something that people have battled with for decades?
Yeah, well, systems are made up of people. So first of all, I think it's important that you're airing this story because it raises awareness of the issue itself. Another thing that can be done is to address the legal framework. Now, South Africa has a fantastic constitution that is much more progressive than many of our constitutions in European countries. And in fact, gender discrimination is forbidden in the Employment Equity Act, but nevertheless it happens. So one needs to chip away at that legal framework as well. Maybe it's an appropriate moment also to refer to the Ruth Bader Ginsburg, the U.S. Supreme Court Justice who passed last week. This was her whole argument, that gender discrimination is harmful to both men and women, and she set about with legal means to address that. So I think there are many things to do, from the systemic down to the individual. We can all make individual choices also to model better behavior, and as employers do the right thing, and as employees ask for the right thing. Of course, the European Union is also doing specific projects on this issue, but maybe...
Tell us more about those projects.
Yeah, the European Union has a number of programs that address specifically gender equality, which is also a sustainable development goal of the United Nations. Among them, we're supporting the government's capacity to hardwire gender equality into various programs that it runs to the tune of 10 million. We have a project going on there, but what I'd like to highlight is a project we have called the capacity building program for employment promotion, which is quite an innovative set of measures that is focused specifically on helping young women get into the labor force and stay in the labor force through various packages and support programs.
Earlier on, you said that systems are made up of people. And if we look in a South African context, if there are issues or there's a commentary about South African system and South African life sometimes being very patriarchal and the main decision makers being men, even though you've said that this gender pay gap influences men and women badly, how does that change? And then it's not just an economic issue in terms of closing the gender pay gap, it's about more mindset changes as well?
Well, I would not deny that. Also being a woman myself, but these things take time. But they do need to, modeling the right thing to do. Modeling good behavior is where it starts. It's exactly the same with the National Action Plan against GBV. It takes also men to model right behavior. Siya Kolisi, for instance, It's terrific that he's doing that. And I think, these things are able to be translated into other policy areas like addressing the gender pay gap.
Okay. The EU Ambassador to South Africa, Dr. Riina Kionka, thanks so much for your time on SABC News this afternoon discussing that gender pay gap. And it's the first time that the UN has this year marked Equal Pay Day.